Cry the Beloved Country. Chapter 2. The small child ran importantly to the wood and iron church with a letter in her hand. Next to the church was a house, and she knocked timidly on the door. The Reverend Stephen Khumalo looked up from the table where he was writing, and he called, "Come in." The small child opened the door, carefully like one who is afraid to open carelessly the door of so important a house, and stepped timidly in. "I bring a letter, Mfundisi." "A letter, hey? Where did you get it, my child?" "From the store, Mfundisi. The white man asked me to bring it to you." "That was good of you. Go well, small one." But she did not go at once. She rubbed one bare foot against the other. She rubbed one finger along the edge of the Mfundisi's table. "Perhaps you might be hungry, small one." "Not very hungry, Mfundisi." "Perhaps a little hungry." "Yes, a little hungry, Mfundisi." "Go to the mother, then. Perhaps she has some food." "I thank you, Mfundisi." She walked delicately, as though her feet might do harm in so great a house with tables and chairs and a clock and a plant in a pot and many books, more even than the books at the school. Khumalo looked at his letter. It was dirty, especially about the stamp. It had been in many hands, no doubt. It came from Johannesburg. Now there in Johannesburg were many of his own people. His brother John, who was a carpenter, had gone there, and had a business of his own in Sophiatown, Johannesburg. His sister Gertrude, 25 years younger than he, and the child of his parents' age, had gone there with their small son to look for the husband who had never come back from the mines. His only child Absalom had gone there to look for his Aunt Gertrude, and he had never returned. And indeed many other relatives were there, though none so near as these. It was hard to say from whom this letter came, for it was so long since any of them had written, and one did not well remember their writing. He turned the letter over, but there was nothing to show from whom it came. He was reluctant to open it, for once such a thing is opened, it cannot be shut again. He called to his wife, "Has the child gone?" "She's eating, Stephen." "Let her eat, then. She brought a letter. Do you know anything about a letter?" "How should I know, Stephen?" "No, that I do not know. Look at it." She took the letter and she felt it, but there was nothing in the touch of it to tell from whom it might be. She read out the address slowly and carefully. Reverend Stephen Khumalo, St. Mark's Church, Indachini, Natal. She mustered up her courage and said, "It is not from our son." "No," he said, and he sighed. "It is not from our son." "Perhaps it concerns him," she said. "Yes," he said, "that may be so." "It is not from Gertrude," she said. "Perhaps it is from my brother John." "It is not from John," she said. They were silent, and she said, "How we desire such a letter, and when it comes we fear to open it." "Who is afraid?" he said. "Open it." She opened it slowly and carefully, for she did not open so many letters. She spread it out open, and read it slowly and carefully, so that he did not hear all that she said. "Read it aloud," he said. She read it aloud, reading as a Zulu who reads English. "The Mission House, Sophiatown, Johannesburg, September 25th, 1946. My dear brother in Christ, I've had the experience of meeting a young woman here in Johannesburg. Her name is Gertrude Khumalo, and I understand she is the sister of the Reverend Stephen Khumalo, St. Mark's Church in Dachini. This young woman is very sick, and therefore I ask you to come quickly to Johannesburg. Come to the Reverend Theophilus Misimangu of the Mission House, Sophiatown, and there I shall give you some advices. I shall also find accommodation for you where the expenditure will not be very serious. I am, dear brother in Christ, yours faithfully, Theophilus Misimangu." They were both silent till at last she spoke. "Well, my husband?" "Yes, what is it?" "This letter, Stephen. You've heard it now." "Yes, I have heard it. It is not an easy letter." "It is not an easy letter. What will you do?" "Has the child eaten?" She went to the kitchen and came back with the child. "Have you eaten, my child?" "Yes, Mfundisi." "Then go well, my child, and thank you for bringing the letter. And will you take my thanks to the white man at the store?" "Yes, Mfundisi." "Then go well, my child." "Stay well, Mfundisi." "Stay well, mother." "Go well, my child." So the child went delicately to the door and shut it behind her gently, letting the handle turn slowly like one who fears to let it turn fast. When the child was gone, she said to him, "What will you do, Stephen?" "About what, my wife?" She said patiently to him, "About this letter, Stephen." He sighed. "Bring me the St. Chad's money," he said. She went out and came back with a tin, of the kind in which they sell coffee or cocoa, and this she gave to him. He held it in his hand, studying it, as though there might be some answer in it, till at last she said, "It must be done, Stephen." "How can I use it?" he said. "This money was to send Absalom to St. Chad's." "Absalom will never go now to St. Chad's." "How can you say that?" he said sharply. "How can you say such a thing?" "He is in Johannesburg," she said wearily. "When people go to Johannesburg, they do not come back." "You have said it," he said. "It is said now. This money which was saved from that purpose will never be used for it. You have opened a door, and because you have opened it, we must go through, and Tico knows where we shall go." "It was not I who opened it," she said, hurt by his accusation. "It has a long time been open, but you would not see." "We had a son," he said harshly. "Zulus have many children, but we had only one son. He went to Johannesburg, and, as you said, when people go to Johannesburg, they do not come back. They do not even write any more. They do not go to St. Chad's to learn that knowledge without which no black man can live. They go to Johannesburg, and there they are lost, and no one hears of them at all. And this money." But she had no words for it, so he said, "It is here in my hand." And again she did not speak, so he said again, "It is here in my hand." "You are hurting yourself," she said. "Hurting myself? Hurting myself? I do not hurt myself. It is they who are hurting me. My own son, my own sister, my own brother. They go away and they do not write any more. Perhaps it does not seem to them that we suffer. Perhaps they do not care for it." His voice rose into loud and angry words. "Go up and ask the white man," he said. "Perhaps there are letters. Perhaps they have fallen under the counter or been hidden amongst the food. Look there in the trees. Perhaps they have been blown there by the wind." She cried out at him, "You are hurting me also." He came to himself and said to her humbly, "That I may not do." He held out the tin to her. "Open it," he said. With trembling hands she took the tin and opened it. She emptied it out over the table, some old and dirty notes, and a flood of silver and copper. "Count it," he said. She counted it laboriously, turning over the notes and coins to make sure what they were. 12 pounds, 5 shillings, and 7 pence. "I shall take," he said, "I shall take 8 pounds, and the shillings and pence." "Take it all, Stephen. There may be doctors, hospitals, other troubles. Take it all. And take the post office book. There is 10 pounds in it. You must take that also." "I have been saving that for your stove," he said. "That cannot be helped," she said. "And that other money, though we saved it for St. Chad's, I had meant it for your new black clothes, and a new black hat, and new white collars. That cannot be helped either. Let me see, I shall go tomorrow," she said, "from Carisbrook. I shall write to the bishop now and tell him I do not know how long I shall be gone." He rose heavily to his feet and went and stood before her. "I am sorry I hurt you," he said. "I shall go and pray in the church." He went out of the door, and she watched him through the little window, walking slowly to the door of the church. Then she sat down at the table, and put her head on it, and was silent, with the patient suffering of black women, with the suffering of oxen, with the suffering of any that are mute. All roads lead to Johannesburg. There are long nights the trains pass to Johannesburg. The lights of the swaying coach fall to the cunning sides, on the grass and stones of a country that sleeps. Happy the eyes that can close.